Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans by wrestling fans on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. And this is our NXT review. And tonight's episode of NXT, well, you see, after every takeover, there always seems to be some kind of a recap special, especially one as big as TakeOver Back to Brooklyn. So this was, a good bulk of the show was a recap special, but it was all right because we got two excellent TV matchups that I think more than compensated for all the recapping. And now next week, I think we can look full steam ahead towards a new set of tapings, new possibilities for NXT, and I'm quite excited for it. Partner, what do you think of tonight's episode of NXT?
Excited for it too, brother. I'm looking forward to seeing where we go from here. I think that, I feel like normally I'm not a big fan of these recap shows, the shows where you're just recapping something big that happened, whether it was call-ups or a takeover or whatever, or like the year in review stuff they do in December and January. But I give this episode a pass because we got two new matches that we hadn't seen before, and they were both in front of the Barclay Center crowd, and they were both really, really good. So I enjoyed this episode quite a bit. Could have done without the unnecessary amount of recaps, but hopefully we won't be getting those anymore as of next week, and the two matches we got tonight made up for it, I think.
I would certainly agree with you there. With that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. I've got no heats tonight. Really hard to have any complaints when there are only two matches on the show that are actually progressing the present timeline, and it's primarily a recap show, so I'm good here. What about you, partner?
Yeah, I have a heat of the night. The fact that Ty Dillinger is as over as he is and still only relegated to basically being on the pre-show match.
I really hope they start building him up again soon, but we'll get into that more in a moment because it's time for our NXT review. And we touch upon the fact that, yes, TakeOver Back to Brooklyn did happen last Saturday, so we get a little brief overview of that. But then we get right into the action. Ty Dillinger coming home to Brooklyn. Huge 10 chance. He is ridiculously over. And he goes one-on-one with Wesley Blake. I didn't recognize who it was by the theme at first, but it is Blake. And those two guys go out, and they have a match that's fun, that the crowd's engaged in, and they let the performers know it, and the right guy goes over. Perfect formula. No pun intended there, I guess. And at the end of the day, Ty Dillinger wins with the tiebreaker, or as some of you may know it, the Ushigoroshi King. So Ty Dillinger picking up a much-deserved win. I love the crowd in this. They were so behind Dillinger, chanting 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. And my favorite chant of the night, Blake's a zero, which really got to him. I wouldn't be surprised if he went to the back and developed a complex. Wesley Blake, I think he's starting to find his rhythm a little bit in singles. He had a cool tactic where he distracted the ref and was able to get a thumb to the eye at one point. He did kind of like an inverted lung blower when Ty Dillinger was caught in the ropes. That was another good moment. But yeah, the tiebreaker, again, the Ushigoroshi, gets the win for Ty Dillinger. Commentary did note that he was away for several months. I think tried to get it all together, put all the pieces together, and he comes back with a win. I'll tell you, it's times like this that I still wish we had a heel NXT champion because I'm telling you, get Ty Dillinger up that ladder, make him a part of a TV feud with NXT championship implications. The crowd will be in the palm of your hands. But for now, a win is a win is a win. Ty Dillinger gets on the board. Partner, do you have anything to add?
Well, for what it's worth, I think Nakamura has actually gone on record saying his favorite guy in NXT to wrestle is Ty Dillinger. So we might be getting a little bit of a TV feud between them, hopefully.
That would be really cool. I feel bad for Dillinger, though, because for as over as he is, I think there would be a somewhat split crowd, but I'd have to think the majority would side with Nakamura. That said, though, let's move on. I mean, do you even really want to touch on the recaps, partner? Because I know a lot of the interviews that they showed came from the YouTube channel at WWE.com.
I mean, we don't have to go in depth with any of them, but there were, I think, at least one or two that got things going on with them. Like, Like the Bobby Roode one was just kind of, yeah, whatever. He's, this is pretty much just character work for him. The
Right.
Austin Aries one, pretty much same thing. Just brings up, first it was Corbin, then Noe Jose, now Itami. No one is gonna make their name off of him, even though they're all trying. And then we get his Bailey Oscar recap, and we get a Bailey interview. Scouted the Oscar lock, but she still couldn't get the job done. But then Ember Moon shows up.
Yeah, Ember Moon shows up. I can't wait to see her work more extensively with promos, because from the little I've seen of her, I will say I think something that she'll benefit from by being in NXT is her talking. I don't think she's the best talker, again, from what I've seen, so she could definitely work on that. But she pretty much said, Bailey, a lot of people look up to you. You've done amazing things in NXT. That's why I came here, because you were here. And, you should be proud of the performance you had tonight. It was a great match, and you were a real role model here, and that's the legacy you leave behind. So really putting Bailey over. Personally, and we know Bailey already got called up, I would have liked to have seen Bailey versus Ember Moon before she left, but I'm just glad Bailey's on the main roster with her friends, and she can be with them all the time. And, yeah, I'll be honest. I just got to say about this recap, I did tear up a bit with the music and then just the intercut of Bailey's memories and everything. This is how great of a babyface Bailey is, people. She's got Johnny Scumbag, the self-professed leader of the Scum Squad, getting a little teary-eyed. I thought it was a really well-done video package. Probably my favorite recap of the night, honestly.
Self-professed. If you even held an election within the Scum Squad, you'd be voted leader. You are the leader of the Scum Squad.
I just didn't want an ego, man. I want an egalitarian system, but you get my point.
Hey, man, you're not allowed to be a scumbag and not want to have an ego at the same time. Those are mutually inclusive.
Yeah, you're right. Fuck modesty. But no, this really was my favorite recap of the night, simply because of the emotional touch with the kind of following the trajectory of Bailey. I thought that was so well done. And yeah, this is a good promo from Bailey here.
And then Ember Moon shows up and she says, it's a shame that you lost, but you still did great out there, and I look up to you. So I thought that was cool that Ember Moon told Bailey that she looks up to her. I was honestly kind of, in a way, kind of disappointed by this, just because I kind of felt like Ember Moon has sort of a mystique about her, and then her showing up and telling Bailey, of all people, hey, I look up to you. It's like it humanizes her a little bit too much in my eyes.
Yeah, I could totally see where you're coming from, dude, because you don't have an entrance like that with the crimson eyes and everything, you get the vignettes that you get, and then just be like, oh yeah, Bailey's awesome, which, I mean, she's not wrong, but I would have liked if she would have kept her mystique. I think that's one of the reasons Asuka was so successful for so long, like early in her run, and I would have liked if Ember Moon would have had some mystery to her. But, it is what it is, and she would have had to have talked eventually, so I guess the sooner we get immersed in these waters, so to speak, the better it'll be for all of us. So
yeah. So then we got another recap from the tag title match, Revival versus Team DIY, Ciampa and Gargano. And we get a Revival interview, and I think that what's worth pointing out here is that they really throw down the gauntlet here. They throw down a challenge for the club, the Usos, and Breezango, and then they clink top guys out, and they're done. And this was awesome. I really appreciate this, and it kind of gets me excited. Maybe a WWE team coming down, or maybe even better, the Revival getting called up.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think I mentioned this promo actually in our SmackDown live review yesterday because I loved it that much. Again, these were all on WWE.com. It's not like this was any new content, guys. This is all wrapped up with the recaps. But yeah, the Revival, I'll tell you, as a team, I think they even have chemistry when talking, because you'll notice Dash will say stuff, but then Scott Dawson will build upon it, or vice versa. So even as like a team that has to talk, I think they carry each other very well. It's just that they have chemistry on every single level. It's unheard of. And yeah, I love these guys, and I just wish them nothing but the best.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that 2 of the 3 teams that they called out are on SmackDown, because the club is on Raw, but then the Usos and Breezango are both SmackDown teams.
Oh, look at you. The little catches there. Yeah, that might be saying, we know the tag divisions on SmackDown. Dude, if it was them versus Alpha in the finals of Backlash for those tag team titles.
I'm telling you, I'm probably setting myself up for huge disappointment. And it wouldn't be surprised, and it wouldn't be the first time, and I guarantee it won't be the last. But how amazing if they were the team that Brian and Shane found to face Heath Slater and Rhino, and they ended up winning the whole thing. Yes.
It would be amazing. Personally, I mean, I've been liking Heath Slater, but I hope they do that leg stomp thing that they did to Big Cass and Johnny Gargano to Slater. That'd be hilarious. Take that back
Oh
to your
no,
kid.
they'll do it to Rhino so he doesn't have to keep showing up to every show.
That's true too. I mean, really, either one would be excellent. So there you go.
And no, I think Rhino would be even better too, because then Heath Slater would be all alone again.
Yeah, really. Well, back to square one for my kids.
So much for being able to make payments on that above ground pool.
So what came after this, partner?
We got a recap of Joe Nakamura, and then we got right into our second and final match of the night, TM61 versus the Authors of Pain. And not only did we get a really solid match here, and you know what? Before we even talk about the match, I want to acknowledge the so-called plan, the stick to the plan kind of thing. The Authors of Pain get in the ring and immediately attack TM61. I feel like that is a part of Paul Ellring's plan, is for them to get in the ring and just attack whoever's in there before the match even starts, because it almost reminds me of like a Chip Kelly thing, because Chip Kelly in football, he's a coach who I don't think he does it anymore in the NFL, but in college, he would go for a 2-point conversion on his team's first touchdown of every single game. And it's just a sort of a psychological ploy to put your opponent on their toes and really send that message. And I think that that's what the AOP does when they get in the ring and immediately go after their opponents, even if, like in tonight's match, they get one-upped and they end up getting tossed to the outside. It still says, we don't have to play by the rules. We don't care when the bell rings. We are just here to fight you and beat you up.
Yeah, I think it's a great parallel you just made. We learned the names of the Authors of Pain, but I feel like one was Occam. I can't remember the other guy's name. He was the one.
Dude, it is so hilarious to me that you called him Occam, because it's not even Occam, it's Akam.
Akam. Okay, Akam. Do you remember the other guy's name, though?
It's Akam and Razor, and the reason it's amazing that you thought that one of their names was Occam is because I literally have in my notes that their names might be a reference to Occam's razor.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah, you see that a lot, and
Occam's razor is basically just says that out of all of the outcomes, the simplest one is the most likely to be correct.
Yes.
And it's perfect for the AOP because they ring and clobber people. There's nothing complicated about what they do. Everything they do is very simple. It's just clubs and punches, and I'm going to lift you up and slam you down really hard. So Occam's razor even works for Akam and Razor.
Akam, Razor. All right, there we go.
Yeah, and so I even have in my notes, because I had to specify, Akam is the one that has tattoos on his arm and shoulder.
Yes. And I'm glad that we got names for these guys, so we don't have to say, well, that big one and then this big one. So yeah, very cool that they got identities. I don't think it takes away from the mystique at all, because they're just names, so that's fine. I will say too,
if anything, it makes them more badass, because it's not like they have like full names. It's like they just have like these badass like biker gang nicknames. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they got initiated early. It's like, yeah, we could give you a full name now and then shave it down on the main roster, but we just cut out the middleman and just get right down to business. I will say what I liked about this on the TM61 front. I loved how competent they looked here. I actually felt like they looked more competent here than they did against the Revival, which in a way makes sense. The Revival are the tag team champions. Really, in theory, everybody else should look stupider to them because they are the champions. But Authors of Pain, even though they're dominant, they're still a newer team. And TM61, of course, has all that indie experience and this and that. So they looked really strong here, had a great competitive matchup. But in the end, the Authors of Pain do prevail after their side Russian leg sweep lariat combo that they've been using. And yeah, they are just getting one step closer to the tag titles. And honestly, dude, the Revival is so good at cutting promos that if they are going to drop their titles in a more formal way, I do think they make very fun, albeit brief, but very fun baby faces against the Authors of Pain. I think that program can work the more that I see them in action and the more I hear them talk. So I'd be all for it if that's the route NXT wants to go.
I think unless NXT has any kind of plans to build up a new babyface team like what they did with Jordan and Gable, I think the Revival call-up is the best thing that could happen, because that lets you transfer the tag titles from them to the Authors of Pain without the Authors of Pain actually needing to beat them. And then you can set up a multiple match program with them and TM61 where every match TM61 gets that much closer to beating them until finally at like NXT TakeOver New Zealand later this year or something like that, TM61 finally get the win and end AOP's reign of dominance.
There you go. Sounds perfect to me. Great tag team match to end the night. Partner, do you have anything else you want to say?
Well, no, I don't think so. That was all I really wanted to bring up, was just that I love the idea of the NXT tag titles being relinquished by Revival and then new champion. AOP wins. You could even have AOP versus TM61 in the finals and have TM61 get even closer in that match than they did in this one. And then we have another takeover match between these teams in like October, and they get even closer. Maybe they even get like a controversial near fall where one of the Authors of Pain guys gets their foot on the rope, or it may be Ellering even puts their foot on the rope because they wouldn't have kicked out otherwise. And then finally in December at that big, because it's in Australia or New Zealand, and where TM61 from, John?
New Zealand. So there you go.
Exactly. So yeah, they can finally beat AOP at that show, and it would be awesome.
Exactly. I love it, dude. I think, they'd be smart to go with that. We'll see what they do. But the Authors of Pain do remain undefeated. They are one step closer to NXT Tag Team title contention. So we'll see what happens next. That said, let's move on to our next segment. High spots and low shots. Low shots, Wesley Blake. Plain and simple. He's still trying to find his rhythm as a singles competitor. Came across the perfect 10 and was exposed to be the 0 that he really is as a single star on this night. Wesley Blake is my low shot. Who's your low shot, partner?
My low shot, you didn't really give me much of a choice. I kind of have to make my low shot TM61, but it's a very light, subtle, not intense at all low shot because they still had a great performance.
They really did. It was a great outing for the team. That said, my high spot is going to be the Authors of Pain. Really dominant, ran roughshod. Again, one step closer to the NXT Tag Team titles. And if they do face the Revival, or if they wait a little bit longer and the titles do go on Gargano and Ciampa or another team, it doesn't matter. I think those titles with AOP are an inevitability. So they're my high spot.
Yeah, man, I can definitely buy that. And I think my high spot, you know what? Just to kind of change things up a little bit. Actually, no, you didn't take Ty Dillinger, so I'm going to take Ty. I'm going to take Ty. Ty's going to be my high spot. You probably did that on purpose, but I'm going to still buy it. So let's go. Ty Dillinger, my high spot. I was gonna say Ember Moon because she got to interact with Bayley and coming off the heels of a big win and that kind of stuff, and it's cool. But no, I'm all in on my boy Ty.
Yeah, Ty makes more sense anyway, because again, that happened in the aftermath of Brooklyn too. If we're focusing solely tonight on this NXT, these were the only 4 entities that got featured. So again, slim pickings. But yeah, I knew to give you Ty because you've been loving him since day one, and it had to be great to see him get a win. Let's hope it's actually something that you see more consistently. So with that said, any concluding remarks about NXT?
No concluding remarks about NXT, John, but I did want to ask you, what are we going to do about the CWC tonight, knowing that we're already finished with our NXT TWitWoW and it's only 20 after 9? Like, the CWC is still happening right now.
Well, I thought we would just do the same as we always do, partner. We'd wait it out and then just do it as normally scheduled.
All right, yeah, that works. Well, apologies for the long wait compared to usual, guys, but this was a really short TWitWoW for NXT just because NXT was mostly recaps tonight, and hopefully next week you'll have a little bit smaller of a break and we'll have more to say about NXT. But until then, I guess we're going to have to close this thing out, and we'll see you at around, again, I can't emphasize enough around because we don't know exactly when it'll be, but around 10:30 for the CWC live reactions.
Absolutely, guys. So, check us out there. With that said, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-owner and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like on YouTube. Remember, like this video right now if you're watching it. If you like it, that pushes us to be the top search result. And let's be honest, because we call ourselves the best wrestling podcast on the web today, we should be the top search result. So be sure to like the vid. As far as the comments go, partner, what question do you have for our subscribers this week?
Yeah, guys, I just want predictions for what's going to happen on next week's NXT. We have no real inkling of what's going to be going down, what kind of feuds are going to be started or continued, and I'm curious to know what you guys think.
Absolutely. I think the only thing we do know for sure is Shinsuke Nakamura will be on the show next week. I wonder if Joe's going to beat his ass or if it's going to be a very formal, like, oh, I'm happy to be NXT champion, on to the next one. So, guys, be sure to start that conversation down below in the comments. Make your predictions for next week's NXT. With that said, guys, you already know all the stuff to check out because of the amazing backgrounds my co-worker and commentary here makes. What you may not know, though, is to submit questions for our Q&A. TWitWoW is now doing monthly Q&As the last Friday of every month. That means this second Q&A coming up, it's going to be this Friday because the month is just about over. But you still have a very small window to submit your questions. You get 5 questions per Q&A. You can submit them to any medium, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, what have you. 5 questions per Q&A could be for myself, for Ashton, for both of us, even for alter egos like, you know, myself and Johnny Scumbag here. So any questions you have on your mind, it's free game. Have at it. And guys, like we just got done establishing, we will see you tonight for the Cruiserweight Classic live reactions. Cannot wait for these matches tonight. It's going to be, in the immortal words of the excellent Chad Gable, so sick. Until then, tune in and peace out.